This week on the Big Boss Book Club, I'm joined by Az from Go Again Gaming. We're discussing all things Final Fantasy, and we're also going to look at the massive cash grab that is the crossover with Magic the Gathering. All that and more this week on the Big Boss Book Club. Welcome to this week's episode. So I'd like to open up with a little bit of a story. I'd like to cast you back in time. A young boy returns home from school after a not so hard day with a copy of PlayStation Magazine UK, clutching that month's demo really tightly. This demo is different than other demos because this demo only has one game on it, not multiple, which was sort of the standard at the time. Carefully placing the disc inside the unchipped PlayStation 1 console, he loads the demo up. And what do we see? A multitude of boat-type vessels moving at high velocity towards a beachhead. Explosions and gunfire is abundant. The craft lands like some kind of D-Day landing, and we're expecting a team of crack troops to disembark. But what appears to be 4 teenagers in what are blatantly school uniforms, with not a gun in sight, are instead disembarking. We're presented with a Paul Phoenix lookalike with a tattoo on his face, brandishing some kind of knuckle duster. A trench coat wearing Wesker-esque looking guy carrying a sword, but with a gun handle rather than a standard hilt. But nowhere for the bullets to be fired from, and apparently an unlimited ammo stock. And finally, a Leon Kennedy cosplayer looking fella carrying a similar looking sword to the grey trench coat wearing guy. These school children then charge towards a city which is currently being occupied by a heavily armoured militia. And that's where my journey into the world of Final Fantasy begins. To discuss these mind-blowing scenes, I'm joined by returning guest, co-founder of the Azalea Cult and fellow Bravo bro from Go Again Gaming. Az, welcome back, dude. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. That was a cracking intro. I was remembering the full cinematic and the music as well. The do 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 do. That was that was pure bringing it back. That was the Final Fantasy VIII. That was, wasn't it?
Yes. It's the demo. It's that demo. Like I was thinking back at this earlier. I was just kind of like the original story was there, but I was kind of thinking to myself, who takes these people seriously? They're literally dressed in school uniforms,
in the Seed outfits. Yeah,
in the Seed outfits, and Quistis and Selphie are both wearing like knee-length skirts. It's like these are not outfits for combat.
No,
these are school uniforms.
School uniforms, just pass your exam. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I thought, what a wonderful thing to have a nice reminisce, but then a little bit of a critique, which I think is on brand for me.
Oh God, yeah.
So we are going to discuss a bit of Final Fantasy today. Before we get into it, though, obviously you've got some changes in the pipeline now as well, haven't you? Do you want to have a brief chat about them before we move forward? What can we look forward to?
Yeah, so Go Again Gaming. To be honest, people that have been following me since I started will probably know the sort of roots of where I came from. So I used to have a channel called Pass the Turn, which was basically it sort of evolved into mainly Commander Magic the Gathering content, but it also was a place for me to post whatever I wanted, basically, with regards to tabletop gaming.
Nice.
And when I started Go Again Gaming, I knew it was going to be flesh and blood focused, but there was a series on there. There was a thing called Tabletop Hype, which looked at new Kickstarter and GameFound projects that were coming up that I was interested in. There was Magic the Gathering, like deck techs and Commander stuff. There was other things on there which I enjoyed. So I think going forward, Go Again Gaming is going to be more of a mixed bag, mainly still flesh and blood. But I've just got to that point now where I just don't care what I'm uploading, or I've just got to that point where I just thought I just want to upload what I want. And one of the new things that's actually I'm going to be recording this weekend, and which I'll have to get you on to as well at some point, is a new series called Great Mail Day.
Yes.
So there's always in Discords, right? There's always, because I know you're part of the Go Again Gaming one, active
Yeah.
member of, I would say. There's always a good feeling when someone says, "Oh yeah, I had a great mail day today," and there's a nice picture of all the stuff that they got in the mail. So I'm going to be doing that maybe on a sort of weekly to fortnightly basis. It's going to be co-hosted with Andres. Who
Nice.
did you meet him? Did you meet him at the?
Yeah. I sold him
Yeah.
my Bravo the banner promos from the call-in.
Oh yeah. The bannerets,
sold them to him.
So he's a massive collector. So he not only gets a lot of Flesh and Blood cards and card game stuff, but also a lot of video game stuff as well, and a lot of other collectibles.
Nice.
So yeah, and I'm using this series as like a conduit to not only shine a light on things that are just cool to receive in the post and just little stories and that are involved with those, but also a budgeting plan as well. I'm going to start allocating myself a budget that I can spend on random pickups from a game shop or random pickups online. And I'm going to dedicate it to this series. I'm not sure. Have you watched? So you're obviously a big fan of video games, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the.
It depends on the game.
Yeah, I'm really weird with video games. So, like, I had someone from work messaging me the other day, like, "Hey, dude, have you played this game?" And I was like, "No." It's like, okay, never mind. And I was just like, yeah, no. Like, I know plenty of people who are really really into video games. I'm kind of like, when's the next WWE game coming out? When's the next? When's the next? I don't know, Metal Gear game coming out? When
so you're more attached to like IPs rather than
yeah.
So where was I going with that? Basically, So the Mail Day series thing was inspired by a channel called Metal Jesus Rocks. Have you heard of him?
No,
he's got
heard of.
Yeah, so basically, there's just this guy, this American guy, who just does these episodes called Great Game Pickups, and he just basically just goes through him and his mate Reggie, just literally just love life. They're just chatting about all these games and stuff they've picked up for various gaming systems, whether that's from PS1 all the way to PS5 and Nintendo Switch and Game Boy and all this.
Nice.
So they basically just open up a mailbag of games and then just review them. And that's where the sort of inspiration came from for this upcoming thing. But Go Again Gaming going through a lot of changes, and obviously this will relate because I'm going to be opening some Final Fantasy-esque stuff on the first mailbag video, which was these. Well, actually, the audience can't see them because we're not webcam, but you can. These things which you told me about.
Yes, the Triple Triad games. Yeah.
The Triple Triad games, which were on Etsy. I picked up the FF8 one, which is obviously where we'll speak about that in a moment. But there was also a Final Fantasy 9 expansion pack as well, which obviously we'll get into as well. But they both had different card games, didn't they, in the actual game themselves? But
and we'll definitely get into that. The side games in Final Fantasy for me sometimes are more important than the main game. Which I'll tell you about my Blitz team. Blitzball team. Cool. So we'll jump in then. So what's your first experience with Final Fantasy? Where do you come in and how do you get in?
Yeah. So first of all, do you remember in the UK a range of rental shops called Blockbuster and Video Solent?
Not Video Solent, but Blockbuster,
But Blockbuster, So I think Video Solent was like a predecessor to Blockbuster in certain areas. So I had a Video Solent in Swindon, UK, which is where I'm from. Absolute pigsty of a place, but there we go. But there used to be a Video Solent here. And it was a place where you could sort of rent games for a week or rent movies, and you actually went to the place and picked up the game and took it home and then brung it back a week later, which was what Blockbuster used to do, right?
Yeah.
And there was I just went in there with my dad one day, and I was just like, oh, what can we rent this week? And I saw Final Fantasy VII on the counter, and it had 3 discs, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Because obviously, back in those days, the PS1 games, not many of them had lots of discs, and I think this was the first game I saw that had 3 discs, and that enticed me to get it basically that week.
Was it the first game that had multiple discs? I think it might have been, Final Fantasy VII, because that was out before Resident Evil 2, I think. I think Resident Evil 2 had
Maybe.
multiple discs, didn't it? Because you had the A and B campaigns.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the Leon and the Claire one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure of the timeline of that.
Mm.
But regardless, yeah, it was the
Yeah.
first game. The first game I saw in that rental shop that was like, wow, 3 discs. That's insane. I have to get this. And then ever since then, it was just like, wow, okay, that opened my eyes to JRPGs in general. I never played anything where you got sort of going through a story and you're reading as well. I was like, bloody hell, I'm reading in a video game. You're reading the speech.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy, and then just got into Final Fantasy from there. But yeah, it was a crazy way to sort of get into it, completely fresh to it.
You see, I come in at 8, so
Yeah,
literally it was that demo. It was just that issue of PlayStation Magazine was Final Fantasy VIII themed. The whole thing was about Final Fantasy VIII. There was like interviews with people and all that type of malarkey. It was just this episode is about Final Fantasy VIII. This demo is the Final Fantasy VIII demo. Like, because obviously, like the old PlayStation demos used to be like you'd have like sometimes 6, 7, 8 different demos on the disc, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and then you had like the random weird indie developer game on there as well, like the weird demo for that as well.
Yeah,
or maybe even a full game sometimes.
Yeah. But I just remember it being. I think I've probably even still got it lurking around somewhere. Not necessarily the demo, but probably the magazine. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And I just remember taking it home and playing it and just being like blown away by the cinematics, like straight away, just like wow.
The thing is, with Final Fantasy VIII had, unfortunately, it had an absolute titan of a game to try and follow up on, which was Final Fantasy VII was so well received that Final Fantasy VIII had a ridiculously hard job to follow up on it from a gameplay perspective. But yeah, the cinematics of that game, you know, as in your intro, were very memorable. Were very, very memorable. Even like the first one, the Inos, that one.
Yeah, where they're fighting in the
when they're fighting.
field.
Yeah, that was epic as well.
Yeah, you get like the two going for the slash at the same time. It's like, oh yeah, it's cracking.
It is. And there was blood in it as well. I was like, wow, that's the first time, maybe one of the first times I saw. Actually, no, Resident Evil I played before that, when I probably shouldn't have. It was a 15, but we played it. We played it nonetheless.
We did play it nonetheless. Random offshoot there, but Resident Evil was the first PlayStation game I ever played because I got the console and my nan bought me Resident Evil because it was on platinum.
Oh, right, yeah.
And she bought me Resident Evil, and I was like so excited because a friend of mine had got it, and I'd kind of seen it played, but I wasn't really paying attention. And I was like, oh, amazing! And literally that first scene where the zombie turns around and looks at you scared the pants off me.
Yeah.
And you shoot it and it drops, then all the blood seeps out after you've killed it to let you know that it's dead.
The blood seeps that's right.
Like, yeah. So yeah, blood in games. Oof. Yeah, I'm not a big blood guy.
I mean, no, that's right. Pure blood and gore. I mean, we could go on an absolute Resident Evil tangent as well because I started in reverse because you started on FF8, I started on Resident Evil 2 because there was a demo of that which was like a timed demo that you could only. And then I played through that, and that scared the crap out of me as well because you're talking to this bloke in the gun shop, and then suddenly all these zombies come crashing through the window, and you're just like, "Oh no, what do I do?" And you run out the back door and just leave him to die. It's just horrendous.
Hey, it's just what you got to do in that situation, isn't it? It's like
it really is.
Like I don't have to outrun them; I just have to outrun you.
That's right.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah.
So FF7. I mean, FF7 was my cousin's huge FF7 mark. I always found like what I liked about FF7 because I've played a bit of FF7. I've not finished it, but I've played a little bit of it. I enjoyed the the setting. I thought the setting was really good, but the characters on the screen, I
Yeah,
always thought looked really weird. When you fight, they change and they look proper.
that's right.
They
Yeah,
look
yeah.
correct, but how they look on the screen,
Very Polygon-esque and that. Yeah,
yeah, and compared to the background, because the backgrounds always looked absolutely immaculate. Like
yeah.
you couldn't couldn't poke flaws with it. It
Mm.
just looked crisp. At least on PlayStation One in the late '90s.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably put it on the PlayStation now, you'd probably be like, "What is this rubbish?" But yeah, like I always thought I liked the gem system, like the I think it was
Materia. Yeah,
Materia. That's what I was trying to
yeah,
remember the name of earlier.
yeah.
I quite like that. Did you finish the game? Did you get through it all?
Oh yeah, I finished it. Yeah, I finished it. Yeah,
Do you
I've
remember how long it took you?
Oh, I don't remember. I finished it. Yeah, I finished it a long time ago. I haven't replayed it for a while, and obviously there's new games come out for it as well, hasn't there? There's been the FF7 remake, which I kind of disagreed with, and I still haven't played it. I've been told it's brilliant and all this, and the next session or next season or whatever's coming out for it and stuff. But I just didn't think it needed to have the remake, to be honest. But that's just the way of the world, right? People are
Yeah,
just remaking and rehashing things that were used to be good, to capitalize on that, not nostalgia and cash grab. Well, we'll speak about that in a bit with regards to the MTG Final Fantasy crossover.
yeah, yeah.
But
Cash grab, very much a cash grab. Like that big hand just coming in, just picking up a big stack of money.
yeah, and just
dropping
moving it into the other account,
Yeah.
basically.
Uh,
But yeah,
the
Final Fantasy 7 was awesome with regards to the aesthetics as well, as you said, like the
yeah,
aesthetics of
the
it.
look of it, I thought it was great. The
Yeah,
chocobo racing,
oh god, yeah, the
I
mini
spent
games as well.
hours doing
Yeah,
chocobo. I think I probably spent more time because I didn't get to I don't think I got off the second disc. If I'm
hmm
completely honest, I think that's probably where I was before I stopped playing it. But literally just absolutely caning chocobo racing. I just loved
oh
it.
god, yeah. Yeah, like even in the later the other games that obviously we'll speak about 9 and 10 and those sort of ones as well. There was a lot of mini games that you could get involved with, which sucked up a lot of the time as well, and that's the whole fun of it.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into. There's so many tangents you could go off on this sort of conversation.
Oh,
And you don't want to get lost in it, but
no. Well, the thing is, so yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy Seven for me, like I said, it was more my cousin kind of like he was always like, "Oh, this game's really good. This game's really good." The
yeah,
first time and because I played it after I played 8, so I think a part of me was kind of like, I'm saying 8. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly, yeah,
Like
yeah,
this materia stuff to get like your summons and to get your decent spells and stuff like that. I was like, don't know. In 8, we just get them.
you just draw them from the enemies, yeah,
Yeah,
and
suck them
that's
from the enemy.
yeah, just suck them out of there. But that's the thing. That's the thing with Final Fantasy as well, right? They're not connected in any way. So
No.
you play one, you move to the next one. It's completely different. And I think from FF8 to FF9 was also a tough one because they went from Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 8 were similar to a certain degree. They had sort of futuristic elements and mixed with fantasy,
Yes.
and then they changed to characters that look straight out of sort of medieval. They've got big heads and sort of big features and stuff, big eyes and hands and that, and it's just completely different than FF8 was. So yeah, it's you have to, and then going on from there, Final Fantasy X, a completely different style again. So that's one thing that Final Fantasy also battles with itself in is the fact that it changes every time. There's no sort of episodic nature to it all.
Yeah, that's true. Because even, I suppose, even 10, even though there's a futuristic element to it, there's because of the rules there, no tech. It's
Yeah,
almost on similar ground to number 9. Because whenever I think, I didn't really play much 9, but I
yeah.
just remember Steiner
Oh
and
yeah,
just this armored dude with a sword.
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
I was like, that will do. That will do
The
nicely.
Knight of Pluto.
Yeah. So 8 moving to 8, did you play much 8? How did
Yeah,
that come?
completed it.
Completed it, mate.
Yeah,
Completed it, mate.
completed it. Completed it. Yeah.
Was that a similar thing? Rental?
No, I basically bought all the Final Fantasy games after I
Yeah.
played. After Final Fantasy 7, I was just a simp for everything Final Fantasy after that. But yeah, FF8 was another very, very fond memory because of the setting of it. You're a bunch of teenagers going through puberty, but basically you got the whole prom dance thing. You've got this love story in there as well between Renoa and Squall. Squall also reminded me a lot of myself because I was just an antisocial dickhead. back in school, and I was just like, yeah, that's probably how I would respond. It's just like, yeah, I don't care what you're feeling or anything. I'll just move on and just sit in the corner, play my game.
He's like, I'll just say it. He's a bit of a he's a fanny magnet, isn't he? You know
Yeah,
what I
oh
mean?
yeah, yeah.
He got his own teacher.
Quistis,
yeah, she's like proper like, oh hi Squall,
hi Squall, yeah,
hi Squall. Then you got Selfie, who for like 5 minutes is like, hey, but then she's kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
And then you've got Renoa. It's like this guy he's just got. It's like he's got the tap. Just doesn't want to drink from it.
Just doesn't want to drink from it. Yeah, exactly.
It's always like, I don't really understand that, but I must admit I play a little bit of thing because I'm just antisocial. And
yeah,
I was like, oh gosh, like yeah, that's pretty cool. At first, I think for me the idea of the gunblade was really cool, and
that's right.
And again, upon further inspection, there was a couple of questions that raised: A, where are the bullets coming from? And B, where's he getting his ammo from? Because you never see him reload that damn thing.
No,
it's not.
I'm not sure if it was it. I'm not sure if it was ever explained, like the mechanics of it. There's probably YouTube videos out there saying, "Oh, this is how a gunblade works," but I don't think during the game they actually explain how it works. But does it even have bullets, or does he just click the trigger when he's hitting something to make the blade do extra damage or something? I don't know whether it's ever explained or not. But
I always remember clicking. Is it R1 when you swing?
That's right.
It's like you're like, yes, I hit it.
I hit it.
Fantastic.
Because that was the whole limit break thing, wasn't it? The Ren Zokuken, where you have to just click the R1 in the right place and then he does extra damage.
Just absolutely rinses them. Just goes to town. But there is something mildly concerning about a seed and garden as a general thing. There's something quite concerning about that. The idea that you've just got literally a bunch of teenagers who you're shipping out to fight in these conflicts, and they don't seem to be as well armed or armored as the people they're fighting, but somehow, obviously, they have to
get
win.
Up. That's right. Yeah.
Except Selfie's got like nunchucks. Quista's got a whip.
A whip.
Just like, come on. Do you know what I mean?
It's brilliant.
Like,
it's absolutely brilliant.
Until you get Irvin, who's the only one who's sensible and has a gun.
That's right.
You're like, what are all you people playing at? You got knuckle dusters, a gunblade, a whip, nunchucks. Renoa has that weird. I suppose it's like a crossbow type thing, isn't it? The fires.
It's like it comes back to you almost. Yeah. And she has the dog that randomly comes in and headbutts someone. Yeah. Angelo.
Yeah.
Angelo Strike or something it's called. Angelo Attack or whatever, and he comes in, running in.
It's like all her limit breaks were like Angelo attacks. It's like the dog just comes and hits you. I think there's one where it heals you. Comes in and heals you, I think.
That's right.
God, like, come on.
And in order to sort of upgrade Renoa's limit breaks, you have to go around and read pet magazines. That's which is brilliant.
Yeah. There's, I think, is the one you've got to read like a gun magazine as well, haven't you? I think for one
for the weapons.
Yeah,
you have to research the weapons. The Weapons Weekly or something like that it was called. You have to find
these years. Obviously, before we move forward, we've got to touch on it because I think it's one of the big things, isn't it, for Final Fantasy? It's the summoning. Something that obviously I'm not too sure about 9, but definitely in 7 and 8, everyone could have summons.
Yeah.
I don't know if that changed. Did that change in 9?
Yeah, so only Ico and Garnet could use the summons in 9 because they were the only ones that could equip the ores, which allowed you to learn the summon ability, basically. So FF9 had a great system with regards to how you learned things and what people could use and stuff. Whereas 8 was you could just anyone could use magic. You could just draw
Yeah.
it from anything. And then you equipped your summons and you allocated your magic to increase your stats and stuff, didn't you? So
Yeah, which I really liked, and
oh, it was good. Yeah,
I liked the fact that I could divvy them out.
yeah.
Like, okay, you have Zell, you've got Leviathan, Squall, you've got Bahamut,
Hmm.
Selfie, you can keep, I don't know, Carbuncle,
Yeah.
and everyone else, we for fine, and then you just swap. That was something else I quite liked. That you could just swap everything. So if you were like, oh, I'm going to swap Zell for Irvin, you could just do a 100% swap. So Irvin would get all their spells, all their magics, abilities, and summons. You could just do like a cut and paste. That I really liked. I liked the idea of just being able to not have to manually do everything. And I seem to
Well, yeah,
recall.
you could just literally equip all of your magic to like all of your Firagers to strength, and
Yeah,
then just literally transfer it all. So if you've got a damage dealer build mage, you could just transfer that to Zell if Irvin's not available for whatever reason, or
yeah, exactly.
it's if you want to mess around with someone else.
Yeah, I see. I like that. Um, the bad guys were interesting as well. You got to go to space in 8.
Yeah, yeah,
What?
that's one another great thing I loved about it as well. You don't go to space anything else, no, I don't think.
No, don't think it did in 7. I don't recall. I didn't play 9 enough to know. And 10, you
No, you didn't
definitely
go.
don't.
Nah, that's it.
No.
Yeah,
X2? No, you definitely don't do an X2. But yeah, you
no.
go out in space and you've actually got to do stuff in space, which was cool.
Oh
Um,
god, yeah, that's how you acquire the ship that transports you
mm,
around everywhere. Because as we
exactly.
know, Final Fantasy is well, the older ones, 7, 8, and 9 were played on a standard sort of world map basis.
Mm,
So obviously there were locations that you could go to and stuff, but between those locations you had to walk around like an overworld map, which
yeah,
was quite interesting.
yeah,
Um,
I remember that.
you used to get little vehicles that could get you to certain places until you've got a new vehicle which could fly you around the whole place, and used to get boats and like little cars and all sorts.
Yeah, you got a car in 8, you would run out of petrol.
That's right. Yeah, you had to buy. It just became a life sim essentially. You had to just
Yeah.
go out and buy the fuel to get around.
It's like, oh, thanks. I have petrol for my car now. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's like one of the things like they did it in like Metal Gear Solid 3. They did where you had to eat and drink and
Oh yeah.
heal yourself. It's kind of like, how much realism do you want in your video game? I just want to get in this car and drive it. I don't want to have to worry about finding a petrol station, and filling it up.
Yeah. That's right.
Do we wait for this petrol? Do we go to this petrol station or do we go to the next one because the next one might be cheaper? That's maybe more of a
Oh, it's
real
funny.
life thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I always find it really fascinating. The oh yeah, yeah, summons. Like I thought 7 had some wonderful ones. My cousin managed to
Mm.
get, I think, pretty much all of them. I think Knights of the Round was like the big hard one to get hold of. I think in 7.
Yeah, because you had to essentially breed a gold chocobo to be able to get to the island where the Knights of the Round was. So the Knights of the Round island was basically in the bottom. I think it was one of the bottom corners of the map, and you could only get there through a gold chocobo because you had to go across. You had to go across the ocean first of all, so you couldn't. You had to go across the ocean, and the island was basically on a mountain, so you couldn't actually park a boat there and walk to it, and it was surrounded by mountains. So you basically had to get a chocobo that could go over sea and mountain, and then get off the chocobo and then go into the place where the Knights of the Round was. And you couldn't land there either on your high wind ship because there was no grass. So you couldn't
Yeah,
land there either. So the only way was to get a gold chocobo over there. And you had to do that whole sort of chocobo side quest thing, which is great.
yeah.
Also, love doing that.
Yeah, I think my cousin managed to get that because I remember seeing when he summons it, and you just see them all coming in, and they all just like hack and
Oh
slash.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like I think the closest thing outside of that's probably the Major Sisters, maybe in 10, maybe.
yeah. Oh, they
Um,
were awesome as well. But yeah, I don't think Final Fantasy X summon system is great. Obviously, we'll move on to that in a bit. And
yeah,
obviously, this is probably going to be a long episode, people that are listening, because there's so much content.
yeah.
Final Fantasy is a great series, but I've only played up to 12. I didn't bother with anything after that.
Okay, so you did better than me then. I actually I lie. I think I played 12, and yeah.
Yeah,
That was where I checked out. I was like, yeah, because
yeah,
11's online, isn't it? Final Fantasy 11's
yeah.
online. Yeah,
I
so it's
didn't bother with that
12.
one.
So 12 is
Yeah,
where I play it. Yeah, I checked out there. I was like, this is awful. But we'll go into
yeah,
that.
yeah.
8 summons were good. Y- I think for me, the you had some. Oh man, I mean, you had Alexander, which was cool, like a big, massive castle tank that just fired
Oh yeah, that was brilliant.
light at you.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you had Odin, who would just randomly turn up.
Just randomly turn up and kill creatures for you. Yeah.
Until, of course, because I'm playing it for the first time, and I got him, and is it disc 3? I think it's disc 3 when you
Oh, he
face
gets killed,
Tifa.
doesn't he?
Tifa kills him.
Yeah, yeah. That's
'Cause
it.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, because I started the boss fight, and then the rain fell, and I was like, oh my
Here
god,
we go. Yeah,
this is when I needed Odin to turn up. Odin
that's
comes in,
right.
and then Tifa kills him, and you're like, what?
Yeah, I remember that now. That's it. And then he turns into a different thing, doesn't he? He
His
turns.
brother rocks up, Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh. That's it.
Yeah, his
Mm.
brother, because the sword flies off, and then Gilgamesh turns up like maybe like 10 minutes later or whatever. Like, who's killed my brother? Like, and he's got the
Yeah,
sword, but he's got his own sword, and then he's got like another sword, and he's got like these swords, and he just comes in and hacks and slash, and Sifa gets jobbed out. But yeah, the first time I saw it, I was like high fiving myself, like, yes, job well
yes. Here we
done.
go. Yeah,
G- No need to worry about this boss fight. We've got this in the bag. And it's like the shot comes, and then usually it's the bad guy that splits in half. But instead,
yeah.
it's Odin who splits in half.
That was genius. Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
That,
Yeah,
I think that was an absolute like that was such a unique thing. I don't think I'd ever seen anything like that before in anything. Like, usually when you've got something like that, it kind
yeah,
of just plays that way. If you've not got Odin, that boss fight just plays out as it is. But if you've got Odin, the idea that actually you've had this unbeatable, not unbeatable, but like this summon that just turns up and kills everything straight out,
yeah,
and all
yeah,
of a sudden it gets killed.
yeah,
It makes the boss fight so much more tense, because now you're like, holy cow, this guy means
yeah,
business. Like, you knew he meant business, but now you know he means business because he's just killed your unkillable summon. And then of course
yeah.
you get
Well,
Gilgamesh.
that's how you set up a boss fight, or you set up a villain, or you set up an encounter. Is that you from the start of the scene, and we've seen this countless times in movies, is you demonstrate the power or the audacity of the villain straight away.
Yeah.
It's the same with the Heath Ledger Joker scene when he first goes into that room full of goons in the Dark Knight, and he just kills that bloke with a pencil
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
that scene sets the tone for Joker's character for the entire rest of the movie. The fact that he's just so unpredictable and just not giving a crap about the environment that he's in, surrounded by other gangsters almost.
Yeah, there's similar things, isn't there? You could go to like Thanos in Avengers Endgame. Literally,
Yep,
scene 1, he's killed everyone from. He's killed pretty much
yep.
all the Asgardians. Kills
Loki.
Kills Loki. Kills what's his name? Not the character's name. The guy who plays him, Idris Elba, kills him as him right
That's
off.
right.
Like, gets lost.
Yeah,
I always compare that scene to
yeah,
Transformers the movie, like the original animated one, because like literally within 10 minutes of that film, Megatron has killed Ironhide, Prowl,
yeah.
Ratchet. They are all dead. Like,
That's
all
right.
these loved characters from seasons 1 and 2 of Transformers are dead. Like, they do
Yeah.
not pull punches. They still see like images of the bit where Megatron kills Ironhide, and it's still underneath it just says, "This was when our childhood died." It's like this is when
Yeah.
we had to grow up because this Megatron forced us to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of sets it up, and it gives you a thingy. He's definitely one of the better summons from it. There is other summons. I mean, Leviathan's quite cool, and you've got like the usual Bahamut. Bahamut makes, is he in all of them? I think he is, isn't he? Bahamut?
Must be, yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's the standard dragon, non-elemental damage dealer summon.
Yeah, and I think Shiva's in most of them, isn't she as well? I think
Yeah,
she's pretty.
Ifrit. One of the ones that I liked in Final Fantasy VIII, which was a completely new one, I haven't seen it since, is Doom Train.
Yes.
Which was, you had to collect like some iron pipes and some Solomon rings and all this to get him. But yeah, that was a cool one. Just basically just plows into the enemy and gives them all sorts of status effects, which is quite cool.
And you had his name has completely slipped my mind now that I've thought about him. Was it Diablo?
Diablo, yeah, Diablos.
Yeah, just throws a big ball of energy and nukes 25% of your health. Can't kill you, but you can always take a quarter of your health.
Yeah, it's basically Demi, isn't it? The Demi spell.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think he did more damage than I think he did, because Demi was take off quarter your life, and then there was another couple of spells that did half life or whatever, up to the maximum value of damage, which was 9999. You couldn't do any more than that. But yeah, Diablos was great because you could summon him quite early on. Because Sid, the headmaster, gives you the lamp, doesn't he? And then you can just open the lamp straight away.
Yeah, we recommend doing it earlier rather than later because your life is lower. So when his attacks don't do as much damage if you can do it early. The later you wait, the harder he is to do because he can nuke more of your life.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with Final Fantasy VIII as well, is that the enemies scaled with your level as well. So if you grinded too much at the start, you're going to get rinsed when you actually fight like the main bosses because they level to your level. So if you're grinding too much to begin with, it's going to make the other parts harder. In some degree, but you can also break Final Fantasy VIII as well by just. I think you have to try and get the refine skill early on, so you can make items into spells. And as soon as you can start doing that, I think you can get like the spell Tornado on the first island from like farming fish or something. And then you equip like Tornado to your strength or your HP, and you're just doing bucket loads of damage before you've even gone to bloody Dollet, the first town area.
Wow. My friend Harrison, so I mentioned it in the intro. My PlayStation wasn't chipped, and it was something me and Hamish talked about when we recorded Metal Gear Solid 1. Actually, we talked about chip PlayStations, and
I had one of those.
I didn't. I had a cartridge that I could plug in the back.
Yeah,
it kind of did it. It would allow some games to play. It would really depend on the disc. My friend Harrison had like the full on malarkey, and he had Final Fantasy VIII, but his disc 2 was scratched, and he couldn't get off. And because of that, he couldn't get off disc 1. He couldn't be bothered to get it done again, and he just plowed disc 1. He was in disc 1, level 90.
Wow.
just going around the forests, just like by the name. I should have really wrote the names down, but like the city where you try and assassinate a deer. Like there's like forests around there. He was just in the forest, level 90.
Nice.
just pummeling it. He was like, it's nice, but yeah, it'd have been good to get to disc 2.
Yeah,
because that had 3 discs as well, didn't it?
It FF8 had 4 discs. That one
did it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it did. Because disc 3 is after you're off disc 3, you can't go back again. Disc 4 is like the end.
Yeah, because that's when the lunar moon like changes the landscape.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can't go back after you're off disc 3. You can't go back anymore to go get some of the unlocks. If you haven't got it by the end of disc 3, you can't get it.
Yeah. But you can, when you get to Ultimecia's castle at the very end, you can actually draw everything you've missed from the bosses in the castle.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, so if you've
Oh.
missed summons in the actual game, if you go to, because Ultimecia's castle at the very end of it, obviously is full of like weird bosses that you've like fought in the past and
Yeah,
other
yeah, yeah.
versions. But you can draw any summons that you've missed from particular bosses in that area,
Oh, I
which
didn't
is
know that.
which is good.
Oh man, wish I'd known that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if you know they did a like a remaster of FF8 for I think it's on I think it might be PlayStation 4 actually. Where it's just the original game,
Yeah.
but they've made it so the graphics don't look totally awful when
Mm.
it's on your screen. But they added in loads of really weird stuff. So they added in like a so basically it works like you can't lose life. You turn on a like a feature and you can't lose life. You can't die.
All right.
So anytime you get hit, it just your life like it shows you being hit, but your life doesn't
Yeah.
go down. So,
I think that would. Yeah, I think because I've got Final Fantasy VIII for Steam,
okay,
and I
nice.
think that's a remastered version as well. But on the Steam version, there's basically like a cheat mode when you go into the the sort of menu screen that you have on the Final Fantasy games. You go into there and you go into settings or options, and there's like settings where you can click to do 9,999 damage every single time you hit something.
Okay,
So it just allows you to speed run the game
yeah,
if you don't want to grind, basically.
yeah,
Which is what a lot of modern audiences and modern game people that haven't experienced it might just want to plow through it without having to grind the levels for the because it's you know RPGs back in those days you did have to do a lot of that.
yeah,
You have to grind like forests and stuff to get levels up.
yeah, yeah. I did turn it on for disc 1, to try and get because I with me when so my first run through Final Fantasy 8, I didn't finish it, so I wanted to get to the end. So I
Yeah,
was like, we need to get through disc 1. So l- literally what you just said, speed ran disc 1.
yeah,
So when we got to disc 2, I was like, okay, now we can start playing the game. Like cut out that whole
mm,
malarkey. We're just here now doing this bit.
yeah.
Yeah, I love Final Fantasy 8. I just love it. It's my favorite one. If you hadn't guessed already, it's 100% my favorite one. Love the characters, love the bad guys. Um, yeah, it's just really weird that actually they're just school kids. And that it's only in retrospect I'm looking back now going, bit weird that.
Yeah, just like I mentioned it earlier, but I just love the whole fact that it's like prom and
Yeah,
everything else mixed into it was just a great for when we were playing it back then. It was a nice setting because we were going through that ourselves to a certain degree.
yeah. I think I was actually having this thought as well, and I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's intentional. It probably is actually, but I was saying this like, so my eldest Caleb's 3 at the time of recording this,
Mm,
and he watches Spidey and his amazing friends. So
right?
not to be confused with Spider Man and his amazing friends, the
Yeah.
classic like 80s cartoon, but
Mm,
the Spidey and his amazing friends. The thing I always find really weird about it is that Spidey, Spin, and Ghost Spider are all kids. They're like kids. So not like high schoolers where Spider Man's kind of supposed to be, but like you're talking maybe like still in primary school kind of
all
age.
right.
And but they're superheroes and they fight the bad guys, you know.
Yeah.
And the bad guys are also kind of feeling like a similar age, like PJ Masks. PJ Masks is the same thing. It's like these little kids that are in little school, and at night they turn into superheroes with their superhero tower and all their superhero gear and all their superhero equipment. And but they're just kids. And I don't know. There's a level there of I was like, I don't understand it. I was just thinking about it, and it was like, because there's a relatability to it. He can
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
it and see himself in it because he's young himself, and he can identify. So maybe actually, there's probably a very good argument for that. Actually, that it could just be, well, the people playing this will be doing this, so
yeah,
we will give them that appearance, I guess.
yeah. I think so because a lot of, well, I think if not all of the Final Fantasy games they're all adolescents, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think to a certain degree, they're all sort of young looking, sort of um, teenager esque characters. So I think that makes sense as well. It's the same with all of them, really. So
Yeah, because so 9. I didn't really play 9 much. I played like the first disc. I feel. Um, I know you got Zidane,
yeah,
and you know you Steiner, and
yeah.
there's the little spellcaster guy. I can't remember his name.
That's right. It was more like classic. It was more like classic D&D tropes with this one because obviously you had your thief, your sort of rogue in Zidane. You had your sort of paladin knight with Steiner. You had your sort of cleric / healer / summoner with Garnet, who was the main summon caster at the start of the game, and then you had your sort of wizard black mage, which was Vivi.
Vivi, that's it. That's the one I was thinking of.
That's right.
It's like the little tiny guy with the hat.
That's it. Yeah, and the bright yellow eyes, and you couldn't see the face. Basically, it was just but basically just a puppet. Essentially, Vivi's whole race is like short lived or something. And Final Fantasy IX went very, very deep on sort of the meaning of life and what you should do with it and stuff. So that's a very, very deep game. Like if you play through it all, and there's like at the start of the disc as well, you can see like each character has this issue that they're going through in life, and there's like Vivi has got like loneliness, and Steiner's got like pride or something like that, and Zidane's got something like I don't know, but yeah, people will if you go and Google Final Fantasy IX opening sequence, you'll know what I mean. But every character has like an issue that they're going through, and they have to resolve that issue through the story. So I thought that was quite good.
I guess that's kind of cool in some ways. It kind of feels a lot in some. Yeah, 9. I think it was. I don't even know what it was about 9 that made me just not bother. I think there was a level of. I've played 8. I love 8. 9 for me didn't feel the same. But as you said, that's kind of like what's special about the games, that each one feels different. Maybe in retrospect now, if I went back and played it, I'd probably be into it, I reckon.
Yeah, well, it's that's the thing, isn't it? If you make every single one different, you're not going to the fans aren't going to translate to each one because you've completely messed around with not only the aesthetic but also the battle systems and the way the game plays is completely different. You didn't have the junction system anymore with Final Fantasy VIII, with Final Fantasy IX. Your equipment and the items that you picked up basically allowed you to learn different skills, which you then equipped with a certain amount of AP points. And only certain people could use certain abilities. You couldn't have Zidane, the thief, use black magic. You only could use Vivi for that. So you had to sort of build your team based on what abilities you want to be able to use in certain situations, which was also more sort of D&D-esque,
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
I actually like that. It's something that we'll go into 10 shortly.
Yeah.
But that was always something I really liked about 10. It's like, because as cool as 8 is, like I said, if I thought, actually, you know what, I want to level Zell up for a bit, I could just swap him for another character and he would have everything that they had.
Yeah.
And just play as Zell for a bit.
Yeah, no characters outside of their limit breaks had any identity in Final Fantasy VIII. They're all the same.
Yeah,
they didn't really do anything different apart from their limit breaks because your junctions basically dictated what your actions are, and everybody could use magic. So it was just like, none of the characters had any identity apart from the limit breaks. Whereas in Final Fantasy IX, you know that Zidane's going to be able to steal things from people. You know that Vivi's going to be able to use black magic. You know that Steiner's going to be able to use these massive sword attacks. And if you had Vivi in your team, you could do sword magical attacks, which was interesting. So you knew which role your characters had, and as a result of that, you felt more inclined to level up Vivi because you keep dying on this boss that's very weak to magic. So you have to level up Vivi and grind Vivi's character because you
Yeah,
need black magic in the fight, etc.
yeah,
So it got you using other characters that you might not necessarily want to use because you prefer the look of something else or the play style of something else. So it got you experimenting with other characters that you might not necessarily use, which was good.
yeah. I like that. I think,
Mm.
yeah, I think that because that's what basically 10 was, wasn't it? Even though I think one of the issues with 10 was eventually, if you did keep playing the game, all the characters ended up as good as each other, doing
Yeah, that's
pretty
right.
much everything anyway, other than
Yeah,
summoning, which was still only Una, but
yeah,
everybody could end up doing everything else. Like, because once you completed the sphere grid, everyone had everything and all the stats. The only
that's
thing that
right.
was different would be Una having summons and nobody else had them. That would
Yeah,
be the only
I think that. Yeah, I
differentiation.
think that's the only difference. Yeah, because nobody else could use the summons apart from Una, and then everybody else could have everything else. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Because once you got
Yeah,
around the sphere grid, you could start unlocking. You essentially would always end up on somebody else's track, so you
that's
would
right.
you would just end up like, especially if you needed to like teleport them, you'd end up on like a friendship sphere, and you end up like where I don't know, put
Yeah.
Tidus where Waka was. Next thing you
Mm.
know, Tidus is learning all the cool Waka attacks, and it's like, okay, well, don't really need to put Waka in the squad anymore, do I? Because Tidus is just
Yeah.
learning all his moves. Um,
And again, that's where they sort of imitated the Final Fantasy VIII model, is that obviously everybody has different limit breaks, which makes them unique.
yeah,
So if we tie this into Flesh and Blood quickly, everybody has specialization cards which
yeah,
can be used only by those characters. So similar limit break situation. Walker's limit break was insane on the Aurochs reel.
yeah,
when you so it was always worth having Walker in the team for the Aurochs reel,
yeah.
which was
I,
good.
for me, I'm going to I think so. We'll move swift into 10. Summons in 10 for me were like the best thing, like
Oh,
in
they were sick.
in
Yeah,
any Final Fantasy game. I
yeah.
think the summons are the best in number 10. And
Hmm.
for me, it was always, once I unlocked it, when I figured out I could unlock him, was Anima.
Oh
And
yeah,
as
yeah. He was
soon
the tits.
as, soon as I had Anima, all these other summons that I'd busted my hump getting and been working really hard to level up and been putting my spheres into, just abandoned them. Just like,
Yeah.
sorry. It's like there's only one Aeon now, and his name is Anima, and her name is Anima, and sickeningly good. And their limit break, the fact that
Yeah.
Aeons had limit breaks, and they became
Oh yeah. God,
playable
yeah.
characters. Because
It was Oblivion, wasn't it? Oblivion was
yeah,
Anima as well, and that's just where they sink below Anima, and there's
yeah,
that other beast, and it just pummels the shit out of people, doesn't it? Sorry,
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah,
just pure damage, like loads of like. I love those attacks that just like you just see all these numbers like being presented because they're hitting them so many times.
yeah. That was it. Yeah, he just
It's
pulls them
brilliant.
underneath the floor, just breaks out from its chains, and just leathers the snot out of whoever's across from you. And
That's
yeah,
right.
for me, I was just like, Anima. Don't need any more. Also, if I remember correctly, when I first played the game, it was the first Aeon that could do over 9,999 damage. Even like my Bahamut was like kind of
Hmm.
stuck, where Anima was like 99,999. Yeah, no problem, mate. Completed it. Just like
Yeah, that's another
winks.
thing as well about Final Fantasy X. I think was the first one to break that 9999 limit as well,
Yeah,
and then bring it up to the next level, which was 99,999. I remember
yeah,
I played a lot of Final Fantasy X and pretty much completed the sphere grid at least with Tidus, whatever you want to call him. Maxing out the sphere grid and just being able to do whatever he wanted, basically. Yeah, it's just
Titus was cool. again, like another kind of like surfer dude kind of look, a very
Yeah.
unique look to Tidus. And the sword stuff, like he had a sword, and his swords always, and the swords he got looked cool, and it was always like, yeah, this is. Whether or not he beat Squall in my rankings, I don't know, but like,
Yeah.
he's
And
definitely.
the funny thing is as well is that what the reason why he had the sword is because at the very very start, Auron just goes, "Here, take this,"
Yeah,
and then he brings it up and just like can't really hold it that well, so he just sort of drops it and just starts, and then just like literally just naturally falls into this stance, which he then adopts for the rest of the game.
yeah,
And obviously his limit break is called sword play, so he's not even really a swordsman. He just sort of adopts it and then uses like blitzball moves to attack.
yeah, yeah. He
um,
absolutely like sort of talk about adapting.
yeah, that's right.
Like, but Oren, on the other hand, see that Oren is probably for me the man in that game because it's just
Oh,
like
he's great.
It's just so like I foresee no difficulty, and
Yeah.
just literally runs up to it. He's carrying the sword with one hand. He's got like one arm out. He just slashes it, and that's it. Bad guy gone.
Yeah.
Like especially at the beginning. Later on, obviously, it's a bit different because everybody's on par by then.
Mm.
But they have like Kamari that kind of falls into the background. Then, really, because
Yeah, I never really understood Kamari's role to begin with. Obviously, he has the blue magic, which is similar to Quina in Final Fantasy IX, as well as other Final Fantasy characters that can sort of learn enemy moves. It's just it's very
yeah,
very very strange. Although the ultimate abilities of some of the enemies that you can imitate are very good, but they're more like a utility class more than anything else, that they can just
yeah,
do a bunch of different things depending on the situation. But then you have to learn those abilities individually by encountering and learning it from enemies, which is just the tough and grindy part to it.
yeah. He was kind of like for me. He kind of felt like the heavy. He was the heavy, but then
Mm.
Oren and Kamari's not the heavy no more. Oren's the
No,
heavy.
exactly. Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
I do what he does, but better. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
um, yeah. And then Kamari does become more of a utility. You just kind of bring him in to see if the bad guy's got an ability for him, and then you swap him out for I don't know Oren, who comes in and just hits it really hard.
Yeah, so for it, Kamari's style sort of reminds me of Final Fantasy VIII, because what you want to do. Another great thing about Final Fantasy X is the fact that you could switch characters in and out of battle,
Yes.
which was awesome. But what I ended up doing with Kamari, just going on that thread for a moment, is bringing him in and using was it Lancer, where he drew.
Yeah.
I think it was Lancer, because you
Yeah.
drew something from the enemy, you gained HP and MP from doing it,
Yeah.
and if they had an ability that you could learn, he would then learn it.
Yeah.
So I just swapped him in, Lancered everything to see if I could learn anything else. If I couldn't, then I just swapped him back out for Auron, who could just, because he had piercing on his weapon, so he could just get through the armor of most things.
Yeah.
Which made him more of a heavy.
Oren gave no shits. Like Oren,
No, exactly.
just come in and hit you. Something that actually just thinking, popping into my brain there, talk about everyone becoming a bit generic. Waka was the only one who could hit flying targets.
Yeah.
And he was one of the only ones you could use underwater.
Yeah, that's right.
Riku, Waka, and Tidus were the only ones who could go underwater.
Yeah. And I think Final Fantasy X, because obviously it was trying to appeal to a lot more of the modern audience. In fact, it was the first Final Fantasy released on PlayStation 2 as well.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So at that point as well, like 2000, 2001 or so, gaming was becoming a lot more popular because of these new systems. And what Final Fantasy X had to do was bring in that new audience that were playing PlayStation 2, and they did a really really good job of that, because of the fact that when you started the game, it was just a giant tutorial that taught you how to do things. It taught you how to attack with Waka, aerial enemies. It taught you how to use Auron to break through the shells of highly armored enemies. It told you how to use Lulu against elemental creatures that were weak against fire or ice or whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously, it taught you how to use items with Riku and stealing and all this. So yeah, it was a great way of introducing people to RPGs at that moment in time as well, I think.
Yeah, anytime you got a new character, you had like that mini tutorial where it showed you how to use them.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I think Lulu.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Need we say anymore? Need we say anymore? I mean, we'll play Final Fantasy X for the plot. What's the plot? Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The But again, it was one of those situations where even she eventually became completely irrelevant because everyone eventually would learn black magic. So
That's right.
kind of
Yeah,
shuffle her off with a crappy doll, and just kind
that's
of like
right.
you sit over there um with oh, his name with Kamari. You sit over there with Kamari, and
That's right.
like even Riku was kind of the same thing. Eventually, you'd be like, hey, you sit over there, let the
Yeah.
summoner, the main character, and the heavy.
Yeah, well,
Occasionally,
because these systems that will allow any character to learn any other character's things eventually is a bit of an issue, because if their limit breaks are garbage, which Lulu's limit break was garbage and
yeah,
Riku's limit break was garbage,
yeah,
they're just going to fall. They're just going to fall to the side because you know Tidus's limit break was mental because he could do multiple attacks and then do a massive AOE attack and kill everything.
yep,
Yuna was just summoning creatures and doing loads of damage there, and
yeah,
some of the Aeon limit breaks are insane.
yeah. And she gave
Um,
them a second limit break. So if they were already ready to use their limit break, if she had her limit break, they got two limit breaks. So
Two, yeah,
because I took on which one was it? Is it a mega weapon? I think it's a mega weapon. The one that's in the underground, like
that's right,
prison.
yeah,
Literally,
yeah,
first thing I did, Una, activate
Oblivion,
limit
yeah,
Oblivion. Then what happens
yeah.
next? Activate Oblivion again.
Oh yeah, that's just how you break the game.
Yeah, just
Absolute Oblivion.
yeah, just keep it going, keep it going. And it still didn't beat the damn thing because he's got like 2 bazillion health or whatever.
Ah,
But yeah, like I think the next attack killed it. But I was like, yes, come
mm.
on, you got to steal
I've
from me.
got I've got Final Fantasy X on Steam. I might have to just replay it all, to be honest, because I think if we're going to get to our favourites, I think Final Fantasy X might actually be my favourite one because there was just so much to do in it, and it was just pioneering the. I also loved in this game, which was different to everything else, is that the fact it was turn-based combat as well.
Yeah,
So you could see when your character is going to take your turn in the top of the screen, so you could then do strategic things. Like if you cast haste, you can see that Tidus's character has moved up on the grid because he's now
yeah,
faster, etc. And then you could
did
sort
like
of
that.
plan out when to heal and when to use utility spells to protect yourself from when Seymour's going to cast his big massive spell or whatever. I love that part of it also.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Love a look at combat now. So
Yeah.
I loved the combat system in like 7 through 10, how it operated. So
Mm,
it'd be like duh, 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 duh,
mm,
duh, duh, and you go into like the fight. You'd have the bad
yeah.
guys on one side, the good guys on the other, and then like you said, you would get turns. Or in Final Fantasy 8, you had to wait for your bar to load up, and I think it was the
It's
same
a
in
lot more
7 as
active.
well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I always remember that and think that was how I enjoyed playing Final Fantasy. They got come on, wait for the bar, wait for
Yeah.
the bar,
Yeah.
wait for the bar. The bar's charged, attack, 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 attack.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's a strategy in Final Fantasy X where you can go, okay, cast haste all, and everyone's fast. Suddenly you've got 6 more attacks before the bad guys get
Hmm.
to go. What I
Yeah.
used to do was, well, I still do because I've actually got the PS4 version of FF10. You would swap out so all the team are in every combat, so then they all get experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Good idea. Yeah.
And then you would just make sure the last person in is Una, so Una can bring out an anima and kill everyone.
Yeah.
It
That's
was
right.
it's a simple method, it's a simple formula.
Tried and tested.
It's tried and tested, but if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Just bring it
That's
anime.
that's what they call the cheddar cheese of leveling up all of your team.
It
Just
is.
bringing Lulu in to cast fire on something, and then just getting her the hell out of there to get the experience.
That's literally it. Sometimes wouldn't even cast anything. Sometimes you bring them in
Yeah.
and activate one of like those abilities that increase
Defend.
everyone's aim. Yeah, defend or something like that. Like Lauren, like click like bodyguard or whatever it was called.
Yeah,
It's like
brilliant.
okay, now Tidus activate cheer. Everyone gains like 100 life. It's like,
That's right.
"Way!" But he's now taken part in the combat, therefore he gains experience. And then last but not least, Yuna, bring out summon, kill enemy.
Kill everything.
Everyone
yeah.
gets experience. Everyone gets upgraded on the sphere grid, and away we go. Yeah, just absolute tried and tested. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. It works. Actually, something we'll touch on quite briefly, just while I'm thinking of Aeons and summoning. Yojimbo in that is probably
Oh yeah.
another one of the better things, just because you've no idea what he's going to do.
That's right. Yeah.
I was
Because you pay him a certain amount and he does a move based on that. If
Yeah.
he's absolutely sort of annoyed with what you've paid him, he's just going to send his Daigoro to do his attack. His
Yeah.
dog.
doesn't even bother. It's like Angelo for me. Doesn't even bother. Just send
Yeah.
the dog. Send the dog.
Just send the dog in. Yeah.
The best thing I had with Yojimbo was when I took on Dart the first day on. I can't remember the name of it. It's weird.
Oh, the Dark Aeons. They were awesome to
Yeah.
fight.
So I took on the first one. The first Aeon, the first Dark Aeon.
Yeah.
Big Bird. I can't remember the name of it. Its name. Why? I should remember these things. I'm really usually very good.
Dark Valor.
Valor
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally got him. I was like, oh no, this is gonna be awful. My cousin had told me, oh, the Dark Aeons, they're really tough. And I was like, oh no. I thought, oh, who've I got on me before I even knew anime was a thing? I got Yojimbo. Bring out Yojimbo. Fingers crossed. Yojimbo comes out, does the Odin, doesn't even ask me for any money, just comes out, does the instant kill, and just kills Dark Velfor in like one slash. And I'm like, just high-fiving myself. Job well done. Never does it again. Never.
No, that was my strategy as well. Most of the time was go to the Dark Aeons and pay Yojimbo enough money to just kill them in one hit.
Yeah.
Just save and just cheese it. Just save and load, and just save and load. If you don't get the Yojimbo, just save and load. We've all tried those strategies as well before, where we try and cheese out enemies to just try and progress our mission.
Yeah, it's like please, just kill him in one hit, please. Oh no, oh well, never mind. Reload. Try him again. Please kill him in one hit. No, okay, reload.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
11 was online. Actually, something we'll touch on quite quickly. The bad guys in 10 were actually really good. Seymour felt annoying. His voice was annoying. He was annoying.
Yeah.
Sin as a concept was a bit weird.
Yeah. I thought it was good though. I thought it was again. It sort of gave you that. We're speaking about villain introductions. There's a villain introduction in FF10, isn't there? He destroys a whole bloody city, and then you're living in fear of this huge creature that can just come out of the water and destroy whole towns and cities. Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen now? Is it going to happen in the future? It will happen eventually. And you're living in fear of that the whole time, which is great. And obviously, there's a moment where Sin decimates an entire town. There's just a coastal town. There's like these like kids playing and stuff, and suddenly they look over their shoulder, and there's a big tidal wave, just kills them all. I think it's the was it town of Killick or something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Because like Yuna has to go and
she does.
That's right.
Yeah.
So again, the whole villain thing. Crafting that villain and the dread setting the tone straight away is something that FF10 did well, because you started off in Zanarkand and it destroys your city, and suddenly you get sucked into it, and it's like, what the hell's happening?
And it destroys the city to one of the most phenomenal soundtracks.
Oh yeah,
of a game probably ever. We touched about this in the Metal Gear episode actually with Hamish. We talked about the music, and
Yeah.
even the one I just recorded with for Metal Gear Solid 3. Um,
Mm.
like if you want to talk about a soundtrack, that song at the beginning, I have it saved. It's called like Otherworld by some, I can't remember the name of the artist, but yeah,
Yeah.
like that is a cracking piece of
It is. Dun,
music.
dun, dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun, dun. Yeah, it's
yeah,
quality. Dun, 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 dun. That
oh, it's so good, man. It's so good.
that is brilliant.
They
Yeah.
they 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 know how to do a soundtrack. Final Fantasy. They
Oh god, yeah.
do a
Yeah.
meme. They do a meme.
Nobuo Ematsu.
Is that what it is?
Fantastic. Yeah. I'm not sure if it was him in FF10, but he was omnipresent for a while. And the funny thing is as well, I actually, this is a story which relates to Final Fantasy
Okay.
in a certain degree. I had concert tickets to see. I think it was like a production, like an orchestra that were playing Final Fantasy tracks in London.
Nice.
So I had a ticket to go and see them, but I parred it off for a girl that I no longer see or have any interest in, of course, which was a shame because I should have just went to that concert, but instead I parred it off for a girl. I never saw it.
Oh, mate.
Gutted.
Do you know what? That's actually quite heartbreaking. I've seen a few of these. Like they do a lot in London. Like
Yeah,
like this. Like I've seen like Star Wars. There was a Batman one a while ago where it was like Dark
yeah,
Knight to an orchestra, and I was like,
yeah,
oh, I need to go see one of these at some point.
yeah.
I know a couple
Would
of
have.
lads who I work in my last workplace who used to go to loads of them, like Star
Yeah.
Wars, you name it. They were always posting up pictures in like London. Like, we've got to watch this
Oh,
with an
nice.
orchestra. You're like, yeah, show off. Um,
Yeah, Hans Zimmer is another one I'd love to see.
Hans Zimmer, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of the epic films that we all know and love, like Inception and Dark Knight, and
Oh
all
yeah,
those good,
Dark
all that
Knight.
good stuff.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I would. I think, yeah. I think if I'm not gonna lie to you, I think if Vic was like, "Oh, I'm not happy with you going to see Final Fantasy by orchestra," I'd have to, I'd have to be like, "I'm just nipping the shop, love."
yeah, exactly.
Come back 8 hours later. So
Yeah,
big traffic, big traffic. Shop's like 2 minutes down the road. So well, traffic, flat tire.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Fell over, hurt
whoopsie.
my leg. Took a wrong turn. Something
Yeah,
happened. Going out for a pack
any
of
excuse.
going out for a pack of fags, love, but you don't smoke. Well, logistics. Blah, 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 blah. It's all viable. It's fine. Yeah,
Brilliant.
Final Fantasy X for me, I think is probably it probably is one of the more important ones for me, just because for how much the PS2 upgrade.
Yeah.
In fact, I own it like 3 times. Like PS2, PS3, and PS4. No, such a nuts game. X2. Did you play X2?
I did try, but then I just didn't. I gave up with that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, I couldn't. I really could. I had a very similar experience with 9, where I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I think it was something like the clothing system. Your abilities came from the clothes you were wearing. It's like, oh no. So
Yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't get into that one for some reason.
yeah, my mate Harrison, he loved it. He thought it was great, but I was just like, nah, sorry. It's not
Yeah,
for me.
I think I was just too attached to Tidus as the main character.
Yeah,
Maybe that was it. But I did in my playthrough. I did love like Yuna, and I loved the summons and all this. But Tidus was my favorite. I just loved the men of Final Fantasy VII.
yeah.
I don't know, Final Fantasy in general for
Yeah.
some reason. But there we go.
They always feel like they always feel a little bit better. As weird as that sounds. Like if we like rewind, like going back to 8, Quistis was just like, who is she? She's just absolutely pointless.
Yeah.
Selfie was just this again, just like, I don't know. I couldn't tell you anything about her. Renoa.
No.
Renoa had a little bit of something to her, but
Yeah.
even then, it was still kind of like this damsel in distress kind of thing, and it wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
fast forward to 10, and you kind of get better, slightly better. Like Lulu's pretty cool. She's got this kind of like antisocial demeanor to her, so that's instantly
Yeah,
attractive.
yeah,
And Yuna was on this journey, and she was doing something. But
yeah,
yeah, like the guys are always just cooler. You got Oren. Do you know what I mean? Like you put
yeah.
he's this mysterious guy. You don't know if he's alive or dead. He's wearing a
Even like Yeah, even like Final Fantasy VII, they did the female characters load of justice in that. Like Tifa was an absolute badass, and Aerith was just trying to help everybody all the time, and then she got killed, which was an absolute
yeah,
travesty.
like disc one, had
this
her
this
off.
one had her off.
Yeah,
Yuffie, again a ninja character from Wu Tai or Wu Tai.
yeah,
But yeah, I think they fell down with the female characters in Final Fantasy VIII,
yeah.
9 as well. There wasn't too many good ones in that were memorable, really. And then 10, they picked it up again. But yeah, it's funny how it goes. It's peaks and troughs, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting with I guess I guess when you're coming from the main perspective, each one you are playing as a dude.
Yeah,
So it's a bit, can you really be putting effort into other sub characters? I guess you need to be making sure that this guy is the central thing. Don't be putting too much spotlight on the others.
I think back then as well, it was mainly men and boys playing these games.
True.
I could be wrong, and but we saw a lot of ourselves in these characters, so maybe that's just the reason why back then. But
Yeah.
that was a different time period entirely, wasn't it? So
Yeah, the demographic I think has shifted since, but
oh god,
back
yeah,
then the demographic was very much teenage, 18 to 24, or maybe even 34, kind of
yeah,
like demographic. You weren't nobody really was nobody was no girl was picking up FF8 and being like, "Oh wow, I
no.
know it's really cool."
No, exactly. That there was no girls in my school that I could go along and say, right, I'm playing Final Fantasy VIII. Do you know the game? No. All right then.
Yeah. That was
These
yeah.
days it might be a bit different, but back then that's what it was like.
Yeah, it's
So
Brave New World now, man. Brave New World, which
yeah.
is great to be perfectly honest with you.
Oh yeah, the more people are into games, the better. So
100%.
it's all good.
In Final Fantasy 11, that was online, so I didn't touch that at all. I'll be brutally
Right.
honest.
Yeah.
12. See, 12 is where I make my leave, because they
Yeah.
changed the combat system completely.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
It just became Devil May Cry.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was
Assassin's
interesting.
Creed. It was Devil May Cry. It was just every hack and slash game that it was. It didn't feel different anymore. Not for me, anyway.
Yeah, I mean it was almost too different to sort of appeal to the old school at this stage, the old school RPG players, the people that have been playing Final Fantasies for the last 10 years or whatever. When Final Fantasy 12 came around, it was like alienating that audience, which is exactly what happened, I believe, back then. If we look back at it as a retrospect, all the old school RPG fans were just like, oh, nah, this is not the same, and therefore didn't really get into it. And I didn't get into it when it first came out. I only got into it, I just bought it from CEX one day, which is obviously for any non-UK people. It's just like a game franchise, like pre-owned games, right? You can just get cheap games from CEX and electronics in general. I just bought it from there because I was seeing a girl at the time who lived in a town that I wasn't really in, so I moved up there to live with her for a bit, and sometimes got bored when she was doing her thing. So I was just like, "Oh, I'll get a new game." Got Final Fantasy 12 and started playing it, and realized that I actually liked it quite a lot. The world was very, very different. It's very sort of Star Wars esque, with like you're walking around the main town, like to begin with, and stuff, and there's like all these weird sort of humanoid creatures. It gave you that sort of Star Wars vibe. And it was sort of futuristic, but also fantasy. There was guns in it. There was lots of other things in it. But I didn't have I wouldn't be able to recall any aspect of the story whatsoever because it's been a long time since I played it. But there was, and I'm sure we'll speak about mini games in these
Yeah.
installments in a moment. But one of the mini games in this was like a monster hunting system where you got contracts and you had to go to a certain area and find the monster and kill it and stuff. And I found that really engaging because I was a massive fan of Monster Hunter, and that sort of gave me those sort of vibes.
Okay.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, I did like Final Fantasy 12, but it's been a long time since I played it, so I couldn't recall too much information on it.
Yeah, I'm literally couldn't tell you a damn thing. I
Yeah,
seem to recall playing as a character. I was in a sort of city, like you said, kind of like a almost like a
yeah,
Naboo sort of main city kind of vibe, and
that's
then
right.
you
Yeah,
had to leave the city to go somewhere, and then I just
yeah,
was like, "This is awful,"
mm, yeah,
and I was like, I don't. This isn't Final Fantasy. This is a completely different game."
that's
Um,
right.
you know, and it was it was definitely for me the combat system, and I literally just turned it off, traded the game in, and I've never
Yeah,
seen or spoken about it until now. And
maybe there was a gap bridging thing with Final Fantasy Online. Maybe the people that were playing Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2 to a certain degree, the ones that were following it maybe at that point when Final Fantasy Online was released, maybe there was a sort of amalgamation between that step and then Final Fantasy 12, which sort of, because the jump from Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2 to 12 is another massive difference, right? So maybe there
yeah,
was, I didn't play Final Fantasy Online, so I don't know. Maybe there was something in there which alluded to where 12 was going to go. I don't know, but
possibly, yeah,
it was an
maybe.
MMO, wasn't it? So
Yeah, it
it was
was. It's online. Yeah, I think
just
that's one
that
of the
same
reasons
sort of
it put
thing.
me off. To be honest, I'm not a big online. Never been a big online gamer.
No,
Um, like I I bought like Star Wars Battlefront, and then I realized most of it was online. I was like, oh,
yeah,
like it was like there's not much to do on this. Like I bought I played like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I think it was my first one.
yeah,
Pretty much never went online with it. Only just played the campaign. As soon as I finished the campaign, traded it in and got rid of it.
yeah.
My friend Harrison
Call
convinced
of, I don't, there's a campaign of Call of Duty. All I played was bloody zombies back in the day. That's all I played.
yeah, do you know what I mean?
Call
Like
of Duty Zombies.
everyone's like buying it and straight away jumping online. I'm like, well, there's a campaign here. I want to play the campaign. I heard the story
Yeah,
about, oh, you've got to. There's a bit where it asks you if you want to play one of the missions because you play as Russian terrorists who are walking through an airport killing everyone. Like
right.
you just kill everyone. So the game asks you if you want because it gives you the option to skip it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, no, I want to play
I
the
want to
game.
play.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm here
Yeah.
to play the game. So I played the game, and you go through the airport, and you're just shooting everyone, like everyone. Like it
Savage.
doesn't even matter. And then at the end, they figure out that you're like supposed to be like an American sleeper agent, and then they kill you, and then they get into the game. It's like,
Wow.
okay, well, it wasn't so. I don't know. I don't even know why they even gave you the option to skip it. It kind of felt like if you were that worried about this part of the game, why did you bother putting it in? Don't don't
No,
put
it's
it in.
a war game, a war game. Yeah, so it's yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. But yeah, so I think online gaming for me was just never really on the cards. I've done a little bit with like Modern Warfare 3. I think I went online with that, but I
Yeah.
generally if it's like, oh, this game is online. This game is online. You're in an online world. I was like, nah, I'm gonna have to give that a hard pass, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
The only sort of game I ever got into which was all online MMO style thing was DC Universe Online.
oh, okay.
Um and that was I spent a lot of time in that. But that was only because me and my mate just had not really much else to do, and it was a game we could both play together. And we just loved DC, and I think DC Universe Online is probably the best game out there for fans of DC characters because there was just everything in it. There was just every single character you can think of is in that game. There's like a raid for every single character and every single location in DC Universe. There's
Oh,
a mission
nice.
that sort of tailors to that. There's like this one where you're in Smallville and you have to fight Doomsday, and all the Justice League are there trying to help you. And then obviously there's you and your mate who have got your own custom characters, maybe a few others that have joined the raid, and you're all just there just trying to beat Doomsday with
Nice.
obviously the Justice League as NPCs. But I digress. But
Nice.
that's one of the only ones I've played, the MMO style ones. But hey ho.
Yeah. Briefly, we'll touch on it. Final Fantasy VII Remake. I played the demo. I haven't played the game. Again, it's that same system from sort of FF12. So instantly I was like, I'm probably not going to like this.
Yeah.
But my understanding is it's just disc 1.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's up until Aeris dies, and that's it.
Yeah.
Which is just, again, a big no-no from me. It's just like, you either make the whole game as it was intended, like Final Fantasy VII was, back in those days, right? That's the thing. Back in those days, they were making full games from the off. There was nothing hidden behind another installment or paywalls or anything. They brung out the game, and that was it. You got a bloody a game in a case. It came with a book where you told you the controls, and sometimes had character profiles in there and all sorts. Back in the old PS1 days, I remember going to Swindon Town and picking up a PS1 game on the bus, and then I came back on the bus and opened up the game and looked through the game book before I got home to play it. And you just don't do that anymore. There's no effort in some games anymore.
No. I remember Tekken 2.
Yeah.
Had all the character profiles like King,
in the book,
Nina
yeah.
Samuels, all that type of stuff. Yeah, had all the not Nina Samuels, Nina Williams. I was like,
just what character am I going to play first, and all this?
Yeah, just excitement builds from the book. Yeah. The 7. I was explaining it to my cousin, because my cousin, he loves Final. Like I said, Final Fantasy VII is his favorite, and he said, I've still not played the remake yet. I keep meaning to get it, and I haven't done it yet. And I said, I'd maybe wait. And he's like, why? I'd maybe wait till all 3 discs are out. It's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, one's only the first disc. He's like, no. And I was like, yeah, mate, it's only the first disc. As soon as you get to the end of the first disc, where the first disc would end, that is the remake.
That's it.
Don't get
That's it for now. Yeah. And how long is that going to take? How long has it been since that first one came out, and we're still waiting for the second one? It's just like CBA.
That's
with that.
Yeah, that's like bargain bin game now. You can probably pick that up for like probably less than 20 quid, maybe 20 quid. You can get that game for now, and I don't plan on picking it up. But
nor do I.
It's a little bit of a shame. Which was kind of nice when I saw the Final Fantasy VIII remaster. I thought it's the same game. They've just updated it so it doesn't like crap on a modern console or modern TV. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. So straight away jumped into 8 and started giving that a crack again. Okay, we'll move on now, because we're going to talk about my favorite bit, the mini games.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
like I said, I remember spending a lot of time chocobo racing in like the weird
Gold Saucer.
Yeah, Gold Saucer. It's like a weird casino type place. Just hours and hours chocobo racing. Don't even think I was very good at it, if I remember correctly. But like, it was just like it's like Mario Kart in the middle of a Final Fantasy setting. Just amazing.
Oh, it was. Yeah, exactly. It was. There was loads of things in. There was loads of things in Gold Saucer which were just absolutely time sinks almost. I remember just like as a obviously it came out quite a long time ago. I remember just spending a whole afternoon and multiple afternoons in that fact on like a Saturday afternoon. What am I going to do today? Just fire up Final Fantasy VII and just play all the mini games in Gold Saucer. Because they had the arcade section where you could sort of revisit some of the mini games in the game. Mini games within a mini game. You got the snowboarding part. You got the bloody cloud on a bike part when you're slashing left and right. You got bloody the submarine mini game. You got all these mini games to play, and then obviously you had the other sections as well where you could go on the roller coaster and do like the shooting. Oh, there was so much stuff. It was crazy.
They crammed it in, I think, which was probably good when we get to 8. They didn't cram it in so much in 8. It was just triple triad. Like that
Yeah.
wasn't really anything else. You but everyone, you could do triple triad everywhere, and then there was like different rules, which really annoyed me.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because you'd always end up encountering some bull rule when someone had a card that you wanted. Like it would be like this person has that super duper, and like the Edia card, but you're in this region, so the rules have changed. So now it's sudden death, and you play a card, but when your opponent plays a card, their stats double or whatever, and they pilfer all your cards, and you're just like,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah.
What you said earlier about save and reload. That was a lot of saving and reloading when you
Oh
knew
god, yeah.
you
Yeah.
wanted a good card, and then you could get loads of good ones from the very beginning, which was good. Like random people, like the little kid who's jogging for some
Oh,
reason.
he's got loads of good cards. Yeah.
Yeah, could just
And
rinse him.
that's they're the main sort of mini games in Final Fantasy 8 and 9 was the collectible card game within the game. So obviously FF8 touched on it just then was one called Triple Triad, which was awesome, and there was also another one called Tetramaster in Final Fantasy 9, and they just involved going round. So I think you got as part of the main story. I think you got a collection of cards by default, so you could play. You got
Yeah,
given, I think you got given a few cards on FF8 by one of the random students.
yeah. I think it's pretty early on, isn't it? I think it. Yeah,
After you get out the elevator, he gives them to you, I think.
yeah. He's like,
Something like that.
hey, I've got these cards. I don't want them. Here you go. And you're
Yeah.
like, wait, I got my first cards. They're
And you can
garbage.
start playing.
Yeah, go on.
And then in Final Fantasy 9, I think you're given them early on as well. But yeah, there's just a fantastic way of just killing more timers, and also a collectible sort of gotta catch them all completionist style
Yeah.
system in the game as well, where you have to try and get all the cards and complete the collection.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 8 also took it to a step further, where you could basically get cards from other duelists or whatever, and then you could with the refine skill turn cards into spells, which then you could then equip using the junction system. So if you could turn some of the cards that you could get early on to turn into spells were insane. There's another ways you could break it early on as well.
Yeah, because you get like, I think the little someone, I don't think it's the jogger, I think it's someone else. Someone has like Cypher, whatever you want to call him. He's like very early. His card is very early in the game. And if you can get him, you can either keep him and put him in your deck, or you can trade him in for a load of cool spells and pieces to do refinery. Something else you could do, actually, you could also turn enemies into cards using
that's right
spell.
Yeah, you could.
I think
it was Quetzalcoatl, I think, that allowed you to do it.
Yeah.
There was a card. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the lightning bird thing in Final Fantasy 8.
Yeah, and you could turn bad guys into cards, which was great when you were trying to refine stuff. But it was really good.
Oh god, yeah.
If it was like a creature that was good and you knew had a good card, you could turn it into a card. And you would have it, and you're like, yes, this is because there was an incentive as well to not collect them, because there's at least one region where your cards were random. So if you had too many chaff, you'd end up with like rubbish cards. So there was almost an incentive to not collect them.
Yeah, that's right.
And just have like 6 cards.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried, like in the mini games, sometimes I tried to use cards that weren't good because I was afraid of losing the other ones, right?
Yeah.
Especially in Final Fantasy 8. I think in Final Fantasy 8 there was, once you had the card, you couldn't get duplicates of it, could you? I don't think. Well, maybe you could for some of them, but maybe
the characters you weren't going to find again. The characters,
no,
they were one and done. But I think most enemies you could probably duplicate unless it was like a boss enemy.
Yeah,
boss enemies, your guardian forces, your characters, they were like one and done.
Yeah,
but everything else,
so there was a rarity system to a certain degree. Once you. So I remember on Final Fantasy 9 as well, because obviously on Final Fantasy 8 Triple Triad system, you had each of the cards had numbers to differentiate, where their power was when they were, because it's a multi-directional card game. So you lay a card down. If that number beats the card that you're next to, you flip that card and you win that card, basically.
Yeah.
In Final Fantasy VIII Triple Triad, every character's numbers were the same, but in Tetramaster, everyone's numbers were different, but they had also directions that they could attack that were different. If you had two flans, for instance, two flan little creature things, the flan cards would have the same stats, but they could attack in different directions on Final Fantasy IX.
Okay.
So you could basically just have a whole team of flans, but they could all attack in different directions. Whereas in Final Fantasy VIII, if you had a whole team of flans, they would all have the same stats.
Yeah.
In those areas.
Yeah.
So Final Fantasy IX's card system was very, very cool in that regard. But I do like the simplicity of Triple Triads one, and that's why once you mentioned the fact that there was an Etsy thing, I was like, yes, I'm getting that.
So it actually is printed. There is an official print of Triple Triad, but it's so expensive to get. Like,
yeah,
you've got to have an insane amount of money. I've never seen a complete collection come up. I've seen a lot of like part collections and like all commons and stuff like that. But if you want the characters, the GFs, the bosses, they are hard to get and expensive to get. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
When I saw the Etsy thing, I was like, oh my lord, I am buying that. And
oh yeah.
I was actually, I don't know if you call it lucky or not, but basically the first one I ordered, it was a month and it hadn't arrived. So I messaged the guy. I was like, listen, I know you're in the States, but it's been a month. Do you know what I'm saying? This should be here. He was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I can't, I'll send you another one. So he sent me another one. And then like maybe 3-4 days later, Triple Triad arrived. I was like, hey dude, it's arrived. And he was like, my tracking says it's not even left the States yet. I was like, okay. So I ended up with 2. So
wow, nice.
Luckily, my man Jim, who deals with the production editing for the show, luckily he really wanted it, so he's actually had the second copy off me.
Nice.
And I just got my money back for what I'd paid for it. So yeah, it's so, and the print is nice. It's a good quality. I mean, you've seen it.
Yeah, it's good. They're good. They're really, really well produced things for an Etsy. Obviously, it comes in like a deck box, and obviously inside that you've got all the cards for the whole game. You've also got a little paper playmat. The Etsy person does actually do proper playmats, like neoprene ones as well, if you want to pay more. But also in the box itself comes with like a rule book as well. So it's really, really well thought out, and it looks like an actual product.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing like a little. I've recorded it already a long time ago. Well, maybe a couple of weeks ago now, when we were speaking about this and when I ordered it. So I have already recorded like an unboxing and thoughts and stuff on the deck, so you can be able to see that on Go Again Gaming. And as well as that, I'm going to be doing they're going to be part of the first episode of the Great Mail Day thing as well. So
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that because I really liked it when I got it. I've still not had a chance to play it.
Yeah.
But I'm always like, it's such a nice, and you wouldn't, like you said, you wouldn't even think it was fan made because it looks
exactly, yeah,
good. Like he's done the artwork and he's dealt with everything, and it just looks fantastic. Yeah. Then so we've got the similar game in 9. We get to 10 and they completely flip it. So 10 we have Blitzball, which is underwater football / rugby / basketball.
Pretty much.
it's I spent this, I can honestly say this is my favorite of the mini games. Like the game.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on this.
I spent a lot of time on this, like crafting my team. Like
that's right.
Like finding where those players were, traveling to those places to get those good players, especially when you're like, I think at one point the only people in my team from the original Aurochs was me, Tidus and
Yeah.
Waka. Everyone
Yeah,
else,
and even like if you visit forums and watch videos and stuff, and people are min maxing their teams and stuff, and apparently Walker is garbage in comparison to others, but it's just nice to have him in there as well as like a character. He is pretty good at shooting. If you level him up,
yeah,
he's a good shooter, but he can't pass to save his life.
no,
But yeah, that whole going round and pressing, was it square
yeah.
on random people to see if they played,
Yeah, literally
and then
just run
seeing
up to
what.
people, kept pressing that square just because then if they
That's right.
interacted with you, you could like check their stats and be like, "Are you any good? Are you any good? I'll offer you a contract. I'll offer you a ten game contract just to
Oh, that's
try you
right.
out." And then
Yeah.
you could extend, like sometimes they would just go. They wouldn't extend, but you could just be
Mm.
like, they were like, "Do you want to extend this person's contract?" You'd be like, "Yes, I want to extend this person's contract." Like I had I can't remember who he was. Because talking PS2 now, but my goalie was like,
Yeah.
just you just were not going to get a shot past him. He had like even if you were right in front of him, like full whack, your best stats, he was still going to save that. Still going to
Yeah.
save that goal. He was just
That's
like,
epic.
Tidus was
I don't
great
even.
as
Oh yeah,
well.
the best one is bloody eject shot, where you just
Big shot.
take out two defenders, and then you still get. So if there's two defenders coming at you, you take out two of them with the ability, and then you
Yeah,
shoot after that,
yeah.
which was great.
And then it would always like spin the ball. I don't know if that ever made a difference, but you'd see it sometimes where it'd do like a little cinematic of the ball spinning round, and then
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just like, "Bing," and it'd always go in. You're like, yeah, come on.
yeah,
Yeah, J Shot was phenomenal. I Blitzball. I would like what you're saying about like loading up number 7 and
yeah,
playing like, oh, I'll just play some goals. I'll just go to Golden Saucer and I'll just play
yeah.
some games. That would literally be my like every day for a week. Get home, I'll just play some Blitzball. No, just play Blitzball
The whole
non-stop.
time. Yeah.
Um, I think you get a weapon for Whacker. I seem to recall, and I think you get Jet Shot 3 as well, where you take out 3 defenders.
Oh really? I never got that one. Bloody hell.
I'm sure it's the first one's like Jet Shot 2, isn't it? That you take out 2 defenders. I'm sure there's a Jet
Yeah.
Shot 3 where you take out 3 defenders.
Wow.
And then you kick.
And then you get it. Wow. Yeah.
You could like poison people and like make them sleep. So you could put like your stat attacks into the Blitzball, like poison them. Like,
Poison them, yeah, and then make their sort of HP and stuff go down, and that couldn't you like with a shot and stuff like that. That
yeah,
if they got hit by it, they couldn't really pass, and couldn't pass as well and stuff,
yeah,
which was awesome.
yeah, because you try and
Yeah,
pass, and if your pass went to 0, the person
you
who was
fumbled it.
the person who was trying
Yeah,
to grab it wouldn't grab it. It was just such a good side game. Like I, yeah, I can't honestly say how much time I sunk into it. I'd love to know how much time I did sink into it, but I was like scouting for like the best people. When like they started doing like updates, this person's no longer on that team. You'd be like, oh, where's this player? Go
where is
find
he?
him.
Yeah,
You-
yeah.
Prime example for using walkthroughs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Best reason for the Final Fantasy X walkthrough was to find out where your Blitzball players were, so you could go get.
That's another thing that's another thing that's been lost to time and space. Really, is remember the big massive strategy guides that you'd be able to get for games back in the day.
Oh yeah,
And they were great to walk through because obviously in the old games like Final Fantasy VII and what have you, you had a page that told you where all the items were as well in the map and making sure that you don't miss anything. And
yeah.
those were great to look through as well.
Well, that was how I ended up unlocking Anima Final Fantasy X because I didn't know you could. I got your Jimbo and I thought, yeah, I've got Bahamut, got your Jimbo, life's good. And then I got the guide and it was like how to unlock Anima. I was like, whoa. Okay, let's do some business. And then went and got Anima. I'd have never have
Yeah.
got Anima otherwise. Like never in a million years. But yeah, saying this actually Metal Gear, I had like the Metal Gear Solid 3 and Metal Gear Solid 4 guides. The, even if you weren't, you could read them for the plot. Like it gave you stuff like information, like a bit like we were saying about like the old guides that come in the old instruction booklets from the games. Give you
Yeah,
maybe a little sneak peek, a little tipple of like the game. You could do that in the guidebooks. Like I remember the Metal Gear Solid 4 one had like a whole timeline of everything Metal Gear Solid up to Metal Gear Solid 4. And you could read it and it would give you like all the story and everything like that. And it was absolutely yeah. And you could get
yeah,
the game information, but you could also get that cool little bit on the back end as well, which is quite cool. Um,
yeah. They were classic.
do you, yeah, Triple Triad. Blitzball's the best one. Triple Triad, Blitzball. It's them, isn't it? They're the best ones, surely.
Oh god, yeah, yeah,
I don't even remember 12. I don't even think I got far enough in 12. Monster Hunter, you said,
yeah.
didn't you? But
Yeah, it was like monster hunting quests were the main thing in 12, really, and they were very, very addictive. I would. It's hard. It's hard to recommend like trying it out if your experience has been bad with it, and obviously you didn't really get on with the system. But yeah, it was a great time from what I remember playing it. But there wasn't any other mini games in that Final Fantasy at least that I can remember. But
there is a Monster Hunter bit in 10, isn't there, as well? In
the
the
Monster Arena, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so you could wasn't so much Monster Hunter as a Monster Farm, and it felt like you just had to go and grab them, and then
Yeah, because you had the blades, didn't you? The weapons that if you got the last hit on it, you captured it, like the
yeah,
capture blade, capture spheres or whatever.
I think that's what
Um,
it was called.
uh,
Actually, I think it was Capture. I think that's what it was. Yeah,
yeah,
if you got the final killing blow,
you
you
captured it.
and zapped it back to the guy, and then he'd create weird monsters for you to fight.
Yeah, and that was another thing as well. Another mini game in that game that's another thing I lost a lot of time to was the Monster Arena because I used to go around and collect because in Final Fantasy X at least there was sort of the same creatures. Like you saw the dogs. If you fought the
Yeah,
dogs, but in each different region there was a different sort of dog that you could kill and capture. And then once you captured like 10 or the whole species, then the Monster Arena bloke made a ultimate dog or an ultimate
yeah,
wolf that you then had to fight. Like I think it was called Bandersnatch or something. The ultimate one, which
yeah.
was just they're all different challenges in themselves. Yeah, that was a great thing to do because when you kill those ultimate monsters, you get items for it, which
Yeah.
then craft or do other things, which is just good.
Yeah, there was definitely rewards. I think you got. Oh, I think you get someone's ultimate weapon. I think, or at least you get the weapon to upgrade to make it the ultimate weapon. I'm sure you get someone's in Monster Arena. Maybe Tinus. Maybe.
Tidus's ultimate weapon is got by doing the Chocobo thing. You get one of the sigils from doing the Chocobo race thing. There's also
Yeah,
Chocobo races in that. That
yeah,
was really hard as well because you had to dodge the birds and collect the balloons.
yeah. And the bird the chocobo would sometimes just randomly go off
That's right.
on its own.
Yeah.
You'd be like, "What are you doing?
What you doing, mate?
Keep
Yeah.
going forward." I'm telling you, go
Messing up my
forward.
time.
Yeah, and you had to
Yeah.
beat your time. It would. Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, I I wasn't so struck on it in 10
Yeah, it
as I
was
had been.
infuriating.
Um, so
But
where does the card game come in?
yeah, so I only got into that recently. I haven't really played it like much since I got it, but again, just out of love of Final Fantasy, I tried the TCG, which I think is pretty good, pretty well designed. There's a few like when I spoke to Red Zone Rogue and Kel about it and played a game with him about it. The system and that was great, but obviously the art on the cards isn't so some of it is original, some of it isn't, but some of it is a mixture of like screen grabs,
Yeah,
cartoon renditions, 3D renditions sometimes, and then original art. So it's I can understand like the aesthetics not being for everybody, but I think the actual system is pretty good.
Well,
I've
so
played it casually.
so I've never actually managed to play, so I'm still a little bit confused of how it even plays anyway. I've got the FF10, funnily enough, starter deck.
Yeah,
Because my cousin originally was like, "Oh, you get 10, I'll get." I think 7 was the other one. He's like, "Oh,
yeah.
I'll get 7, you get 10, and we'll play them off." And then
Mm.
he never got 7. And I've just sat there with this random 10 starter deck ever since.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good system because obviously there's no. You can use anything in your hand as a resource,
Okay.
so you're not sort of stuck with having like no lands or nothing to do or whatever. You're not sort of you're not sort of restricted to a resource system when you might not have resources like other card games have done in the past. Every card you have in your hand can be discarded for resources of that color, and then that allows you to then play play characters or spells based on the colors that you have available to you, basically. Yeah, it's unit based. Obviously, you play units out or characters out, and then you have to attack. You have to deal damage to the other player 7 times before they lose the game.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, and it's good because obviously there's like a random chaosy element called the EX burst system. So whenever you get hit by another character, you do an EX burst. So you look at the top card of your deck. If that card has an EX burst effect, you then play that EX burst effect, which can do a multitude of different things.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. I do like it. Haven't played too much of it. Yeah, just think it's a good system, and looking forward to seeing more sort of Final Fantasy stuff. There's a crossover with Magic happening as well, I believe.
Yes. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, looking forward to that. And
Okay.
again, that's going to be interesting as well because Magic and WotC, of course, they're an absolute money making machine.
Mm.
They know what they're doing to a certain degree. They know it's going to make a load of money. So what? So
So just call it
they
Watsy. I'm sat there thinking to myself, Watsy? Oh yeah, Wizards of the Coast. Sorry,
WotC.
Watsy. I
That's
was like,
right.
Watsy? What the hell's he on about? Yeah,
Yeah,
Bossy, Wizards of the Coast. Sorry, pray continue.
Magic the Gathering abbreviation for Magic aficionados, which you are not. Obviously, we've heard that. Obviously, you haven't
No.
played Magic before much, but WotC is like a sort of abbreviation of the company. Yeah, looking forward to that because obviously they will commission artists to do the whole set. They won't use screen grabs or anything. So it's going to be nice to
Yeah.
see how they portray all of the characters we know and love.
Yeah.
So
If they said which games will be in it? I don't think
I
they
don't
have
think
they?
so.
Yeah,
No.
I've not read. Don't think I've read anything because obviously, like they've just done like the Doctor Who, haven't they? So you've got like all the they've been like, oh,
Yeah.
here's the 14th Doctor, the 13th. I hope Doctor 744. Um, um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm quite interested to see what they do with it. Actually, I don't think it's going to be something I'm going to pick up.
Mm.
I don't see it happening, but I am very interested to see the artwork because something that sprung to mind instantly when I saw it was exactly what you've just said. Magic
Yeah.
generally don't use screen grabs. They'll get people to do the art, and
Yeah.
that f- feels a little bit more. I don't know. Feels a little bit nicer than, like you said. Something I noticed when I was looking through the Final Fantasy X starter deck was a lot of the artwork was screen grabs. Like,
Yeah, there's pros and cons to that because
mm,
obviously you look at the main sort of art with Tidus on. It's the iconic picture of him standing in the ocean with his Brotherhood sword, and that will invoke nostalgia and memories for certain people, but will also turn off other people.
yeah,
So for me, I'm happy to see screen grabs because it reminds me of that moment when I played the game.
yeah,
So that's my argument for that. But obviously, I understand why you would be turned off by things that are just a capture of something that's already happened. You're not putting the effort in to commission a piece of art for it. You're just using something you've already made, which can be considered lazy.
yeah. Because I remember when Conquest was out, and I'm not too thingy on the 40k, a lot of the 40k lore or anything like that, but I know there was plenty of times where like people would point out to me that, oh, that card, that is artwork from X codex, from X book. And I always kind of made a little part of me, my brain was like, oh, come on, FFG, you're better than this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could have, like, a prime example is Arkham Horror. They recycle so much art, like so
Yeah.
much art. Like, I've got the Call of Cthulhu LCG core box, and even I'm seeing art that's repeated in Arkham Horror LCG. So they even took out it from that game and just recycled it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, come on, guys, you can do better than that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm quite interested to see the Marvel, the Magic crossover. WotC. I would call it
Yeah.
WotC from now on. I love that.
Yeah. And they'll bring out things that they might bring out commander decks for these Final Fantasy characters as well, which I think could be quite interesting. So yeah, I'll probably get a few of the products. We will see, but I do like the actual FFTCG system as well, but just haven't had the time to play it, unfortunately.
If they do a FF8 or FF10 pre-con, I don't know, may tempt me.
Yeah,
But I think,
yeah,
yeah, I'd be interested to see the artwork. That's definitely going to be something I'm looking forward to seeing.
oh god, yeah,
Big money grabber though, for like you said, we said at the beginning of this episode, huge cash grab from. It's going to make Magic a lot of money, like, even though they've already got a card game. Final Fantasy, I'm like Square Enix, whatever they want to call them. That's Square Enix now, isn't it?
that's it.
They're going to
Yeah,
be. They've got to make some bank off that, haven't they? Got to make.
they are. Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Obviously, it's a money-making scheme. I just feel like it's a bit of a conflict of interest. Like, if you've got your own TCG, why are you allowing other TCGs to grab your image? It's just a bit strange to me. It seems like a bit of a conflict of interest, but if they
Yeah.
just want to make money, then fair enough, I guess, because it is going to make money, that one, for sure.
100%. 100%. I think they've done as much as a lot of people critique it, these crossovers, they seem to be putting eyes on the product, and I guess at the end of the day, that's it.
That's what they
isn't
want.
it? I
Yeah.
don't know. So we'll throw some quick questions at you, then we'll get to our socials, and we'll let people enjoy the rest of their week.
Yep.
Favorite character?
Favorite character from Final Fantasy?
Yeah, from the lot. We'll go expand.
That is a tough one.
Make it tougher. I was originally going to say each game. I was like, oh no, let's throw a curveball.
Yeah, we can. I think we can do each game.
If you want.
Yeah, we'll do that then,
Okay.
because we've already gone quite long. This is a good one anyway. So,
Yeah. Okay. So 7. We'll
I
start with 7 then.
7 favorite character in 7 is probably Red 8.
Okay.
The dog.
Yeah, the dog. I was going to say it's the dog,
Yeah.
isn't it? The experiment.
Yeah, absolutely love the fact that he's just an absolute experiment, and it's just a creature in your team. It's just like, what the hell? So yeah, I thought it was interesting to have a dog in your team. I absolutely used to love seeing him attack. Like, he used to just jump and then like do a spin on the enemy. That was his attack. He just jumped and spinned on the enemy. So that was cool. And I used to love his limit breaks as well. They're very unique. They're quite. He felt like quite a utility limit breaker. But yeah, that's probably one of my favourites in Final Fantasy VII. One of the most memorable when I was younger, I would say.
Okay. Favorite summon?
Summon?
Yeah.
What,
7.
in general?
7.
Or,
7.
Oh, for 7.
Stick to 7 for now.
Got to be Knights of the Round. Yeah, it's just an ultimate finisher, isn't it? And just pure damage dealer.
Okay. 8.
Yeah.
Favorite character?
Favorite character in 8? Probably the main character, probably Squall.
That little noise then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Squall's the main character. Yeah, but I think, just rewind actually slightly. I think I was going to say, if I was going to say anything, 7, it'd probably be like Barrett, just the big meathead with the one arm.
Yeah, that's a good shout actually.
I'm all for that. Favorite summon for 8?
Doom Train. I think I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah,
Doom Train, because again, just because it's really strange, like having a train as a summon is just like wow. Back in the day, I was just like, why would you have this? I know why, because it's just cool.
yeah, it's
So
pretty
yeah,
sweet.
Doom Train.
Yeah, I think I still like Odin, even though obviously poor
Yeah,
guy comes to a sad end.
I'll tell you what was also quite cool though. Tonberry was a summon
Yes.
in Final Fantasy VIII, which was interesting. The little just doinked his knife into someone, didn't he?
Yeah, it just add him off. There was another random bad guy, the big cactor. You could get a giant
Cactar.
cactor, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
that's right.
fire at you. Yeah, that was a summon as well, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, because you had to kill the giant cactor that used to sort of pop up in the desert.
Yeah.
In Final Fantasy VIII, and then once you did, you got the giant cactar, jumbo cactar, I think it was called.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, that's a classic Final Fantasy monster, isn't it? Cactar. Well,
9 character.
favorite character, probably Zidane, probably the main character again, just because he was like a rogue. And the cool thing about Zidane in Final Fantasy IX was the fact that he could use 2 weapons. He could either use the dagger, or he could use the double-handed thief weapon. So he had either a one-handed weapon or a two-handed weapon, which was I thought was quite cool. You could switch between the two, which I think was quite interesting.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I didn't really play the game properly, but I just remember Steiner. I just have a very vivid memory of Steiner.
Oh yeah,
being pretty cool. So I'll probably say that.
Yeah.
Summon in 9. What was the?
There were some weird ones. Probably Atomos was the one that I gravitated towards. No pun intended, because he was like the thing that he destroyed Alexandria by basically inhaling it. So Atomos was a weird looking summon, but also one of those ones that's included in one of the huge and biggest cutscenes of the game, where they just appeared and destroyed Alexandria in one foul swoop. So yeah, Atomos probably my favourite summon in that game, just because it looks cool. Similar to why you like Anima, I guess, in Final Fantasy X, because it just looks awesome and evil, basically.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Speaking of 10, favorite favorite character,
Lulu.
Nah, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the plot, isn't it? That's what it is. It's the plot.
I've had a few good times in my teenage years over that character.
It's the plot. The plot was
just the plot on the mechanics and the fire limit break and stuff. Multiple cast limit break. That's all it was, really.
Yeah. Fine. Yeah, makes sense.
That's right.
Favorite summon.
Favorite summon in Final Fantasy X. I'm just trying to remember all of them now. Trying to remember some of the late game ones. Maga Sisters were quite cool.
Yeah, they were pretty sweet.
Because obviously there was 3 of them, which was interesting.
Yeah. And sometimes they just wouldn't do anything.
They shouldn't do anything.
It's like having a rest. Like, thanks, guys.
Yeah. CBA, can't be asked to do anything. I don't know, actually. What were the other ones? I'm just trying to recall the other late game-ish ones that you used to be able to get. Yojimbo obviously was one. Yeah. I did like Bahamut in that game because it just looked awesome again, like the big ring on his back. The Aeons in that game looked really, really cool. Like Bahamut just looks pure majestic.
And his colourful wings. He had like colourful wings as well. He wasn't just black or grey.
That's right.
Had colour to him, which was nice.
Yeah, exactly. And that massive ring on his back as well. It's just like pure odd rendition of it. But
and he stood crossed-armed, which I always thought was really funny. Like a bouncer.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like a bouncer bar. Just like crossed-armed.
Just standing there, just looking pure sick. Yeah, I would say that for now. Bahamut for now. I might change my mind later, but who knows?
Obviously, we know a summons Anima, so I'm not going to go there. I think character-wise, probably Orin, just because he was a big, massive, like hard as nails guy, and everything was just like, I foresee no difficulty here. Could be like the biggest, baddest bad guy. He'd be like, I foresee no difficulty here. It's like, oh, do you now? Good for you.
Yeah, I did like all of the female characters in 10 for reasons. Like Riku's Albed eyes were interesting as well. We didn't really notice this early on because obviously, great thing about Final Fantasy X as well is that there's a whole different language being spoken at the start of the game, right? and you don't have a clue what any of these people are saying, and then it's only until you obviously save and carry on and maybe restart with the Albert dictionary involved that you know what they're saying and stuff, which is interesting.
Yeah, I
Um,
did get
and
the dictionary pieces. I did get the
yeah,
dictionaries
exactly. So
because
that's a good mini game in itself.
yeah, because then you can finally see what they're doing. I think there was only
Yeah,
maybe like I think my very first run through there was maybe only like one I didn't get, but then when I've been playing when I got on PS4, I made sure I was like,
yeah,
where is the one I missed? I'm not missing it this time. I picked it
yeah.
up. So yeah, that was definitely which one would you say is your favorite game overall?
I think we touched on that
Mm,
earlier, but yeah, after discussing it in more
wait to commit.
detail, I think I think it is. I think it is 10. Yeah, I think it is probably 10. Just because it was the graphics were the best,
Oh yeah,
and yeah, it was just a pioneering moment. I love the battle system. Love that it's turn based as well. There was a lot to do. Blitzball was just a huge part of it, so that was one of the main things. The female characters were sick. All the characters were sick. To be fair, um, yeah, it was just great experience overall. I think.
yeah. You see, I think I want to say 10, but I think I'm still going to have to say 8, because I just remember playing it for the first time and being absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
Where even though the soundtrack in 10 blew me away,
Mm.
the I just remember playing 8 and being like, I remember, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just absolutely fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then finally, favorite side game. You can only choose one. Got to be one.
Blitzball probably the most time played was Blitzball. I reckon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Blitzball. The what like I always remember like saying to people like, I suppose it was slightly different, but I always remember like my cousin's younger brother being like, I suppose my cousin as well, being like, oh, he loves like football manager games, and me being
That's right.
like, what is this rubbish? Why you're not even doing anything? You just trading and buying players. What is this? And then I played Blitzball, and you kind of, even though you were playing Blitzball, there was this Blitzball manager element to it where you had to go out and find the players and buy the players and
Yeah.
negotiate contracts, negotiate payments to keep them on side so they would keep playing
Yeah.
for your team. And there was a management element to it. And I don't know. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Oh yeah, God yeah. I can speak for that side of it as well because I used to absolutely love those games. I used to absolutely love football and soccer games where you had to manage all of your players and your teams, and then scout for other players and stuff, and you build them up from level one, or build them up from when they were 16 years old, and then you see their 10-year development, and they've suddenly ridiculously good at everything,
Yeah.
that's all part of that experience as well. Is the team building aspect and trying to find the best players for the best positions and stuff. So I can definitely relate to that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, oh, yeah. I'll have to go back and play some Blitzball. Um,
Yeah, I've got Final Fantasy 10 and Final Fantasy 10 and 10.2 remastered on Steam, so I might have to re-download it.
mm,
So
yeah.
it is available on Switch as well now, the Final Fantasy X games, because I knew when I travelled to Lille with Tobias, he was playing it on his Switch,
Was
Final
he?
Fantasy X.
I can't.
Yeah,
I can't get it on another console. I've already got it on
it's
three.
yeah,
I can't get it on.
paying for the convenience factor of having it on your favourite console nowadays. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, like well, I've
Um,
got it on the PS4, which was hilarious because I got bought it, and I was like, I already have this game on my PS3. I don't get. It's nice that I can play it because I don't have my PS3 here. It's in my parents' loft, but like, yeah, like it's nice that I've got it here and I can play it. But yeah, I wouldn't play it on the Switch. Um,
yeah.
too many consoles, way too many consoles. um, so cool, right? I think we're in a good place where I think we've
Yeah.
covered pretty much everything. Um, so before we get out of here,
Mm.
I will open up the floor for the usual. Here is your plug segment. I'll pass you the plug to
Yeah,
plug.
definitely. Fantastic. Yeah, so as from Go Again Gaming, you can find me on Go Again Gaming on YouTube, which I'm doing a lot of different videos nowadays, like climbing mountains, and lots of other things going forward. Not just Flesh and Blood, but mainly. But yeah, and then Go Again Gaming AZ on Twitter, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much where my thoughts and videos and stuff go. And then there's a Discord as well, Go Again Gaming Discord, which is all that sort of stuff is on goagaingaming.com. You can all navigate to all the other stuff that I do on there. So goagaingaming.com. That's pretty much it, really.
Wonderful, fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
thank you everyone at home for listening. Really appreciate it. And if you're on YouTube, for listening as well, because there's no video.
Yep.
You can follow us on Instagram, Big Boss Book Club, on X, Big Boss 010, Facebook, Big Boss Book Club. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe to the show. If you do subscribe, you will receive some exclusive content thrown through your window, wrapped in hardcore pornography, just so no one will know the disgusting content that you're taking in here.
I used to find those on like random forest floors, like
pornos, as they would be called.
That's right.
Porno,
and the playing cards as well. I used to find those.
Oh God, yeah.
Hairy muffs and stuff. Anyway,
I think I might still have a set somewhere that's I've got from something or other. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you've enjoyed the show. This has been As from Go Again Gaming. I'm Big Boss. We are out. Peace.